from 106.1 KISS FM. Here with my tag team partner in podcasting, the Ramblin' One, luscious Jerry V. Good morning, Jer.
Good morning. I am excited today. I'm fired up.
Why are you so excited?
I don't even know. I don't really have a reason. I just am. Just know that I'm tuned up and ready to go. Certainly wasn't SmackDown that fired me up, although there were some things that made me happy about it. But
interesting. You know, I also took some good things and some, I don't even want to say bad things, but I did take a few good things away from what is probably fair to describe as a lackluster SmackDown.
It was lackluster, but it set up a lot of stories. I think they really went in the direction of setting up stories. Yesterday was a builder episode, and there were things that I really liked. And I think some of the things I really liked, some people probably hated, but we'll see.
Well, you know what? That's exactly how I would surmise what I took from the show. So here's the interesting situation that SmackDown's in, and I don't know that it's ever been in the situation before, and I don't know that it's ever going to be in the situation again. SmackDown was 2 weeks ago, and Raw's pay-per-view is 5 weeks after SmackDown. And so that means that SmackDown Raw's pay-per-view is 5 weeks after SummerSlam, is what I meant to say.
Right.
So SmackDown has, I would imagine there's going to be at least 2 weeks between Raw and SmackDown's pay-per-view. So SmackDown's looking at north of 7 weeks without a pay-per-view.
I'm pulling up the pay-per-view schedule right now, but I think you're probably right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm curious. In fact, I'm actually really curious. That's a long time 5 weeks in today's day and age is a long time to build a show. 7 is an eternity, which is...
Oh, come on with the sounds. Sorry about that stupid spam. Hey, you are so right. The SmackDown pay-per-view isn't until October.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I mean, you've got September 24th for No Mercy, and then Hell in a Cell is October 8th.
So was there a pay-per-view earlier in August or just SummerSlam?
The only one in August was, NXT TakeOver, but that was it.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
But June was a mess. June had Extreme Rules, then Money in the Bank, then Great Balls of Fire, and Battleground.
There were four.
June and July.
Oh,
yeah,
June and July. Okay.
There were 4 in 2 months.
And then so August had SummerSlam, and then September has one, No Mercy, and then October is SmackDown's next one. How many does October have?
It has 2. It has one at the very beginning and one at the end. So it's got Hell in a Cell, and then Raw has TLC on October 22nd. And then we're good from October 22nd for a whole month until Survivor Series.
This is a pace more my speed.
I could get into this.
Yeah.
Cramming these shows in 2 weeks before the big ones is a mistake. So I'm into this.
Yeah. So this is cool. So SmackDown's got 7 weeks to build their show. Raw's got 5. Those are just numbers that I like. So SmackDown, while I could say a negative is that they're still kind of just spinning their wheels, if you want me to be totally honest, they are doing that that slow build kind of stuff with a lot of their angles. For example, in one booking flaw that I feel like is being utilized right now in this millennial style booking that's been happening here lately is take Shelton Benjamin, for example. I feel like the old way of doing it would have been, hey, Shelton Benjamin's, we've got him here on SmackDown, and you're going to see him next. And this time it was, hey, Shelton Benjamin's set to return, and you're going to see him next week. And that's good. And another good example of this is Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler comes out on SmackDown last week, says, I've got a major announcement next week. And then his announcement, which was last night, is that you're going to see the new Dolph Ziggler next week. And that's kind of the way I like my booking to be. Give me a little bit every week to tell a longer story over a period of time.
And you have time to do it when you're not rushing towards a pay-per-view every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's, you know, SmackDown kind of has to do what Raw used to do in an hour. Is that there's a lot of stories and there are a lot of people. And so you have to find creative ways to get everybody involved with the show. And maybe if you don't get someone involved this week, you'll bring them in next week and remind people. And you've got to decide who's coming in and who's coming out and who's there every week. And there are ways to tell the story without shoving the same two people down your throat every single day.
Right. Yeah. So I appreciate the slower style that SmackDown has been using, I'll say, post SummerSlam with their stories and stuff like that. So I liked that. I also liked, boy, it made me really happy to see Shelton Benjamin, and I feel like Chad Gable's a good partner for him right now.
Yeah, that was a fun little tag match, you know?
Yeah, I was with the Ascension, so I imagine once you put him in there with real wrestlers, it's going to get even better.
And I thought the Ascension did a really good job in there with them. You know, they were okay.
I thought that there were some timing issues, not many, but there were a few times where, and it seemed like the Ascension every time to me, screwing things up. And I was into the flow of the match, and then every once in a while, Connor would get lost in a Irish whip.
I liked having the Breezango back to basics.
So I need you to help me out here. So I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of started fading last night. I know I missed the majority of the main event. I woke up at the tail end of the show, and I know that the Fashion Files happened, but I was really dozing. Help me out. What did they do?
Okay, so what I liked about the Fashion Files, and I'm not 100% sure on their intro. I think they're doing like a Magnum PI thing, or maybe it's just like a random collage of just them being cool 80s detectives again. But they're back from all the X-Files and everything, and it was just them goofing around. The board was back, and it was funny again. They had they're sporting brand new T-shirts. That the shirt actually looks really cool. They brought that up.
Look like Roman Reigns.
Much better than Roman Reigns. So I don't know. Like it was funny. I think if you went back, there's not a lot I remember from it, but other than I liked they're like, we have some new tech, and they pull the blanket back, and it's like a black light and a set of headphones and friendship bracelets, and so.
Yeah, I didn't see. I mean, I remember I was awake at the beginning, but I must have not been totally there. By the way, you mentioned you didn't mention anything, but I wanted to mention something if I could. I'm not going to, blow everyone's information out there, but I want to congratulate one of our post-to-post family members, Mike. I saw on Facebook yesterday that the post-to-post universe grew by one little fella yesterday.
That's congratulations. That's incredible.
That made me really happy. So congratulations to Mike and his family, which is getting a little bit bigger.
But now that the baby's born, could you get back to posting on the post show? Because you're annoying me.
I do miss him, but I know he's got his hands full here lately. He's a guy. He's one of those guys who apologizes for posting long messages on the post show, but those are the ones to look forward to the most.
Those are the ones I want. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't even know if he's going to see this one. I know he's got his hands full, but if you do, congratulations, Mike and Rachel. So cool. I wanted to mention that. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch the last half hour of SmackDown, but Fashion Files was back to being good?
Yeah, Fashion Files was back to being good. It was good.
Perfect. That makes me happy. Other things. So the main event, while I'll admit I didn't see it, they did some things right and some things wrong. Like, I really feel like with Jinder Mahal and the guys around him, I don't mean even the Bollywood boys, I mean Nakamura and Orton, they're not doing anybody any favors here lately. At least it's like, it was kind of fresh in that it was a tag match, and seeing Orton and Nakamura team together was kind of fresh, I guess. It was all kind of get us back to who's going to face Jinder next week for the title. And your choice is someone you've seen Jinder fight too many times versus someone you've seen Jinder fight too many times here lately.
Yeah, I don't know why Orton's in the picture again. He's lost to him 3 times.
And he was moving forward with Rusev. Like, they had a thing going there. And the one place I didn't want Orton going back to was the title picture with Jinder.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all. I think this is just to set up more Shinsuke Nakamura and Jinder, but I don't know. That's not even the feud that I'd pick right now if I had to pick one. Like, I really enjoyed the beginning for the most part, the opening with Jinder. God, I love his look. I love his entrance. The Singh brothers annoy me. When their bad acting at the beginning of SmackDown Live was annoying to me, but it set everything up for the day, so that was cool. And then the confrontation with Nakamura in the beginning, that was cool. But the end, I didn't care for.
So just to talk about that for a second, when you talk about Jinder and looking good, well, there's one thing he does that I like. When he gets mad at the Bollywood boys, he's got a look of, it's just terrifying. Like, if I were in there knowing it's a work, I would still look at his face and be terrified. He's got a really good mean face, Jinder does, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought for a while that he's perfect, but Hacksaw Jim Duggan actually said, because he was talking, he didn't get his name right. He was calling him Jindo, but he was like, I really like that Jindo. He would have fit right in. Jindo. With us. He's like, he would have been in a program with us. He would have been perfect.
Dude, back when Hacksaw was doing it, it was so easy. He would have been such a monster heel because he's foreign.
Right.
And he's huge. And Hacksaw is right. Back in the 80s, Jinder would have had a thriving career.
He would have been one of the biggest ever, probably.
Well, yeah, and he can work, and I mean, he's not the greatest, but he's got a great look, and they've kind of gotten me on board with him. My only problem with Jinder is the way he's been written.
Yeah, they got to get. I like the entrance with the Singh brothers, but then that's where at some point I want to see Jinder take care of it himself.
I kind of like too his I don't know what to call it, because when people refer to a Titantron, you know what they're talking about, but like his walkway video.
Love it.
It's kind of like this, I'll almost call it like a carpet unfolding, but like on fire.
Yeah.
And he kind of walks at the same pace as the video is unfolding. And it just kind of works. And not only that, when the Bollywood boys are introducing him, they're standing in front of like this red, just like, it almost looks like a Winamp background player or something like that. And it just looks cool. I mean, I've got a big TV with HD, which is, I know I'm not trying to come off like fancy or anything, but it's like, it just lights the room up. It's very cool.
I like it. I'm kind of marking out for Jinder these days. I just want them to write him correctly. And when he does lose the title, I want him to do it in the right way. And it better not be to Orton.
I just came across a thought. I'm going to throw this at you. And think about it before you answer, because it might not be obvious, but who do you think, if you take away crowd reaction and take away everything you know about both these wrestlers, hold on, I can't say that. How do I want to word this? I feel like Jinder Mahal might be a better worker and a better champion than Roman Reigns. And I'll tell you why, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree.
Okay.
They both have a very good look. They both have that slightly foreign, look happening. They're both like, they've just got a great look about them. Both monstrous looking. Both look like champions. Look like guys I wouldn't want to be in a fight with. Jinder Mahal, he makes these amazing faces that can elicit a reaction from me. He's able to speak in a more coherent manner, even though I don't think English is his first language, better than Roman is. I feel like with the proper builds, we could have made Jinder a better Roman Reigns. Your thoughts? I might be off on this.
I think, I was trying to think where it was, because I'd love to find it. Before this push ever happened, when he was losing to everybody and he had just come back and he was just like this jobber Jinder, I remember saying to you, I don't know why, I like Jinder. I don't know why, but I like Jinder Mahal. I feel like they could do something with him, but they never will. And I was half right. They could do something with him, but they did. I agree with you. I think Roman is the better in-ring worker. I think Roman puts on great matches, but
he certainly puts on better matches than Jinder.
But even Vince McMahon will say, this isn't wrestling. This is sports entertainment. And you've got to get the entertainment down to go along with your sports. And Jinder is a better entertainer. I'm more entertained by Jinder. The only time that I have a problem with what's going on in the ring with Jinder, I can point to the back and I can point to the writing. And it's the way he's being written. I think that I think you're right on almost all accounts. But and the crowd definitely responds to him in a certain way. Could he get face heat? No.
Who?
Never. I don't think he ever could. Roman can't either. And I mean, that people knock on Roman because he can't get the crowd behind him. Well, Jinder couldn't get the crowd behind him either.
I bet you Jinder could do it.
You think?
I bet you he could.
I find him very interesting. I hope they continue this push. I hope that this is working for them worldwide. I hope that they're seeing whatever they need to see in their metrics to know that this is not a terrible idea. And that Randy Orton is. It all goes back to Randy Orton can't be champion. I can't believe they've got him in a match that could determine the championship next week. It makes me nauseous.
Yeah, and that's another good example of the slower build. Like next week, we're gonna have a number one contender match for the following week. And I like knowing.
Notice the language. They never said number one contender.
Okay, they also didn't say the following week either. I'm thinking about that.
They said the winner of that match will be granted an opportunity at the WWE Championship in the future. I thought that was a weird way to say it, but that's what they said.
I didn't even pick up on that, but you're totally right. Yeah, they're dancing around something there.
Yeah, so there's that. I liked. Call me crazy. I love Kevin Owens taking over the Aiden English, Sami Zayn match and being the ref. I hope he does that more often. He comes out, beats up the ref, puts on the ref shirt.
I also
that he's the referee. I loved referee Kevin Owens.
I also want to point out this is another great example of SmackDown slow building. Shane versus Owens. It's something little every week, and that's the way to do it. We've referred to it before. I don't need to go into the whole recipe of it, but a really good example. I'm not gonna say it's the best example of a slow build, but a great example of a slow build was one that Jerry and I were watching over the winter break. Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kid from 1993. They played out on Raw. And every week you had something little happen that eventually made you care about their matches and got the kid over. And it was so productive and it was so fun to watch. And it was just a little every week. You don't need to blow the whole wad at once. Just give us a little every week. And so while SmackDown wasn't the most watchable show they've ever done, from that mentality, it makes me happy that it's almost like they're listening to my wishes.
Yeah, they also they're slow building with Baron Corbin and AJ Styles. You know, I like how they worked Ty Dillinger in. He got the U.S. challenge before Corbin did, so Corbin attacked him, and then that turned into a whole thing. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I also was happy to see something you were kind of talking about, is you don't need to see every wrestler every week, and I agree with you. I saw Mike Kanellis and Maria. For some reason, I'm into them. I don't exactly know why. I just am. Maria is stunning. I think that she can absolutely hang with the most beautiful women in wrestling today or ever. I still get that Body Donis vibe from them. I was happy to see him, even though I knew he'd be doing the job to it was a Bobby Roode, right?
Yeah.
I like seeing Bobby, and seeing Mike in there makes me happy. I want them to do something with Mike. It wasn't going to be last night, but in the future, I hope he's not counted out.
Yeah, you know, he got squashed last night, but I feel like anybody they put against Bobby Roode for a little while will be. What do you think? You know, Bobby Roode's greatest successes came from him being an incredulous, cocky, prick heel, and now he's coming out, and I mean, everybody's screaming for him, and he's not the heel. Do you think that's going to work for him?
Yeah, I think that you know, he doesn't really have much of a character per se. He's got the glorious thing, and he's over. Being over is the most important thing. Whether you're a face or a heel, we can kind of play with that down the road. I don't know which way they're going to take him. But it's nice that he can go either way and probably do it pretty well. I mean, he's a babyface, but he's only a babyface because people are cheering for him. They don't know anything about his personality on the main roster yet. So
yeah. So what else am I missing? Am I missing anything? I'm scrolling up to see if I missed anything.
There was the Usos and the New Day kind of continued their thing. I was sleeping. If they did something, I missed it.
Oh, well, the Usos won, and they get to pick.
Oh, the stipulation.
Yeah.
For what? Is it a match next week? Is it a match at the pay-per-view?
Well, if it's at the pay-per-view, then we know what the stipulation is going to be.
What's the stipulation?
Well, the next pay-per-view they have is Hell in a Cell.
Ooh. I wonder. But you know what?
Have they ever had tag match in the Hell in a Cell?
That's what I was about to say. And if that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of a time when they have. I don't. Oh, you know what? Okay. I can think of at least a handicap match in a cell. I remember Big Show had been in a cell with Vince and Shane.
Okay. The closest I can think of tag teams going in there is like War Games. I used to like War Games.
It's so interesting. War Games, and you don't realize it when you're a kid, and I'm sure you probably didn't realize it when you were watching them. You've probably seen more than I have because I've only seen, well, at least, I mean, like what as they were live. I had only seen a handful live. They literally, because I have a DVD or a Blu-ray set of the War Games, every single one, Jer, is the same exact story. It's the same exact story every single War Games. The heels always win the coin toss. And they always, you know, and then the story progresses the same way, and then the baby faces always win, or however it works. But
not every War Games has Sid Vicious almost murdering Brian Pillman.
Yeah, there's been some. They weren't my favorite matches, especially when you watch them in rapid succession. But neither are the cells or the chambers or whatever.
Just Google. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know that moment I mentioned?
That is it's a power bomb, right? And his head hits the roof.
He hits it because it's such a low ceiling. Bang, and then he power bombs him like onto his neck.
Yes.
And Sid tells the story that he did it on purpose.
Really? Expand on that, please.
He did not like Brian Pillman at the time. Brian Pillman, he said was a jerk backstage with him and was giving him heat and giving him a problem, and he was never wanting to do this and never wanting to take a finish, and so he pasted him. He pasted him, and he wanted to do it as hard as he possibly could, but he did not mean to drop him on his neck. He just got gummed up on the.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I believe he said it. I don't know that I believe it to be true. So this is interesting timing to talk about this because this is happening in real life right now. Have you heard about the Rosemary Sexy Star thing going on?
No.
So this is something that it's been the biggest story in wrestling since this weekend. There was I think it was.
And of course, I don't know it at all.
Well, it's okay. I don't feel you in. It's got nothing to do with any stars. It was like at a Lucha show. I think it was Triple Mania, which is the AAA, their big show of the year. So there's a character named Sexy Star, and there's a character named Rosemary. And the story goes, Sexy Star had Rosemary in an armbar and intentionally injured her. And it turned into a huge thing. And now every wrestler, including WWE stars, are speaking out against this and how irresponsible it is and how they'll never share a locker room with Sexy Star and all this stuff. And they're 100% right. And in this line of work, you can't get away with things like that. We can't make that okay. And I'm proud of everyone who is speaking up against Sexy Star, especially the ones with the big voices. And I feel like if Sid were to do that and to brag about it, trying to hurt somebody intentionally, that would be just the sin of all sins when it comes to wrestling and would be out for good.
It is, because it's a relationship in the ring. It's built on trust. But that said, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that you know, everybody that's speaking out against it is in the right. But where's the line? Where's the line between giving somebody a potato, JBL beating up the Blue Meanie in the middle of a match. Where's the line? Because sometimes they're like, yeah, you take matters in your own hands. You know, Andre the Giant used to do that. If someone was, you know, he'd put his hand out and pop you and break your nose. What's the difference?
Not positive there is one, but I will say there's a difference between a potato and a difference between trying to injure somebody. It might be a small difference. If Andre was trying to break somebody's nose ever, F him. You know, and same with JBL. I mean, JBL I don't think he wasn't trying to put Blue Meanie into a hospital, but he was, you know, he was. And how many times have I said screw JBL?
Yeah.
You know,
but they forgive it. Some wrestlers work stiff. Some wrestlers go out and, I mean,
it's in the intention. That's the line.
Although we talked about Perry Saturn and watched that together, and they fired him for that.
Well, the Mike Bell situation was incredibly inappropriate. He didn't go out there with the intentions of hurting the guy, but eventually his intentions became to hurt the guy, and you can't, because what's to stop him from doing that with your champion?
And the next thing you know, someone dies in the ring. Yeah. And now what?
It's just that's the first and foremost thing that you just can't betray that. I mean, you can get away with, like, you know, breaking kayfabe back in the day, but you can't recover from hurting somebody intentionally. Even
when they hurt them accidentally, it puts heat on them. Owen Hart got a lot of heat for breaking Stone Cold's neck, didn't he?
Yeah, and also, I mean, the way he handled it afterwards didn't help him at all either, but he didn't get released from it. In fact, he got an even bigger contract just a few months after that. He got a huge contract a few months after that. So
we talked about how somebody put heat on The Undertaker.
What?
Didn't we talk about that the last time? Somebody putting heat on The Undertaker, talking about an injury?
Yeah, Hogan.
Hogan did, yeah. So even if it's an accidental injury, if you get the reputation of someone that hurts people, like Seth Rollins was dangerously close to a year or two ago, that's something that mars you. So if you're someone that does it on purpose, you're blackballed. You're going to be working indie shows in Reading, Pennsylvania for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's a great example, just because not only did that Hulk's injury was imaginary, and Owen's injury was definitely accidental. Although I learned on the Pritchard podcast that I was listening to yesterday, I'm listening to the Owen Hart one, there were a lot of theories going around that, number one, that Owen meant to hurt Steve, which I disregard as being false, and two, that Steve faked his injury to make Owen look bad, which I also disregard as being fake.
Yeah.
So who knows? Trying to think if there's anything else from SmackDown really worth hitting.
I feel like we covered that show pretty well. If you had to pick one this week, do you give the nod to Raw or SmackDown?
Glad you asked me this week. And if you would remove the one moment, the Cena promo from Raw, you've got SmackDown being the better show because of their slow build and everything. But really, SmackDown was not a very good show. I'm not even sure I'd give it a C, to be honest with you. It gave me optimism for the future. Raw was not a great show, but contained what I'm comfortable calling maybe the greatest promo of all time. And with that, it makes it an easy decision for me.
I agree with everything you say, and yet somehow I still think I would give it to, based on the same criteria, I would give it to SmackDown, because SmackDown was the better show. It was the better show from front to beginning, from beginning to end, but Raw had the better segment. And we've run into this before. Raw was more interesting at that time, but for the long run, from beginning to end, I give it to SmackDown. But there's no arguing. I went back and watched the Cena Reigns thing one more time, and there were some real doozies in there. It was fun watching it the second time because I just focused on Kurt Angle's face. And like,
Kurt had a front row seat to the most amazing segment.
He was uncomfortable. There were a couple times where he was like, oh, and he was like trying not to laugh, I think.
Yeah, there's some shots in there that he probably would be like, "Whoa, that was stiff." Yeah, like that one must have hurt. Throw a potato. All right, man.
Throwing a potato.
Hey, thanks for another great week of podcasts. I think they didn't give us much to work with this week, but I think we did the best we could.
Next week is Monday, because I'd say we do a a topic Monday, but Monday is Labor Day, and Monday is the day I was born.
Oh yeah, the 4th. I know your birthday's the 4th. Is it 40 this year?
It's the big fourth decade. Yes, sir.
How you feeling?
I'm in the best shape of my life, actually. So I'm feeling okay.
You should be. You've got a lot to show. You've got a beautiful family. Kids are growing up to be good kids. Got a beautiful wife. I mean, you've got a great career in State College Radio. You're on the number 40 most successful podcast in wrestling.
Nobody would have ever guessed any of it.
You've got a more successful podcast than Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Sean Mooney.
Absolutely. Are we ranked? Are we rated? I'd like to get us on iTunes.
With something we can work on, I guess.
We can work on that.
Everyone says this is the show you have to watch to appreciate, not just listen to.
Well, that's because of this right here. Take a look, and you're looking good today.
I've got a photo shoot later today. That's why.
That's why you look all snazzy. You look nice
for the radio station.
We'll think on the topic for next week because we've been doing good topics. So I like when you come up with it.
Let's plan a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule. I know things can change, but let's try to forecast because, like you said, Monday we're both off and it's Labor Day. So let's plan for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday if possible.
Right, and you may have to walk me through. Raw on Tuesday.
Oh, you gonna be celebrating big time?
Oh, it could be a party.
Okay, if I have to walk you through or have to walk you through Raw, you've done it for me a few times before too.
We'll be good. All right, buddy. We'll see you.
Thanks a lot for watching the episode today. It's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday schedule next week. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. For myself, the Rob, and my tag team partner in podcasting, the nearly 40-year-old, far from virgin, Jerry Valeri.
I don't have a potato for you, but I have a clementine. Ooh. Potato! Potato! Potato!